This is the third and the last problem of the tutorial video lecture on power required in a radial flow device. The radial flow device that is considered for this problem is a centrifugal pump, which is a device which is used to increase the pressure of water which is needed to transport the water from one place to another. So the centrifugal pump consists of certain stationary element and certain rotating elements, and in this problem we'll apply the angular momentum analysis first to calculate the torque that is given to this radial flow device, and finally we'll multiply the torque with power with angular velocity to obtain the power that is required to drive the centrifugal pump. So this is the stationary element of the centrifugal pump. This is a hollow element. This is called a shroud, where the water enters from axially and then it moves radially. This is the rotating element called as shaft. Note that this shroud is a hollow element and this shaft is a solid element. The shaft is connected with certain vanes or blades which are shown here. So this vane is also a rotating element. Other than this, you have a casing, and this casing is also a stationary element. So there are two stationary elements, shroud and casing, and two rotating elements, shaft and these blades, which are called as impellers. Note that I am showing you here the front cross-sectional view. So if you rotate this section, then you get a 3D view of this centrifugal pump. I will show you this impeller separately. So as mentioned earlier, the fluid enters axially and then it moves radially. When the shaft rotates, the blade, this impeller is connected with the shaft, and the rotation of the impeller leads to the radial transport, axial entry, and then moves radially across the impeller. There is an inner radius of the impeller, R1. This R2 is the outer radius of the impeller, and these blades have a thickness or width B1 at the inlet. So this is the inlet to the blade and this is the outlet to the blade. At the inlet to the blade, the thickness of the blade or the height of the blade or width of the blade is B1, and at the outlet it is B2. This is the impeller. This impeller is shown separately here. This portion is connected with the shaft. This portion is connected with the shaft, and these are the blades which are curved, and so the inner radius of the impeller is R1. So this is R1, and the outer radius, this is R2 of the impeller. This shaft is horizontal. In this figure, the shaft is horizontal. So this impeller is vertical, and this is the front cross-sectional view which is shown, corresponding to one of the impeller. So the fluid enters axially and then it moves radially through this impeller. The cross-sectional area, the inner cross-sectional area, because in this problem we take a stationary annular control volume as shown here, where the control volume, inside the control volume we have the impeller, and the fluid enters radially into the impeller, and it comes out of the impeller. The absolute velocity with which the fluid enters at the inlet is radially, and we are considering here a circular control volume, an annular control volume, which is shown separately here, and this is here, like in previous problem, we consider a stationary control volume. So we have an annular stationary control volume. So this is I am showing you a 2D view, which is an annulus, but note that the inner radius has a thickness of B1, which corresponds to the thickness of the blade at the entry as shown here, and at the inlet, and at the outlet the thickness, this circle has a thickness of B2 perpendicular to this plane, and this circle has a thickness of B1. So we consider an annular stationary control volume, inside which you have an impeller which is a rotating element. Note that this control volume is a stationary control volume. So we'll take this control volume and we will apply the angular momentum analysis for the fluid which is passing across the impeller. So basically we are considering the inlet and outlet of the impeller, and here I have marked one of the blade of the impeller which will be considered for in our analysis. So this is the impeller blade, one of the blade of the impeller which is shown here, at where this is the inner radius, the fluid enter at a radius of R1, and this is the radius R2 from which the fluid leaves the veins of the impeller. We'll draw the velocity diagram corresponding to the inlet and outlet. So let us first consider the inlet. So this is a separate figure corresponding to the inlet, and this is the blade. The blade is designed in such a way that there is a blade tip angle. The blade tip angle for any blade, we have this angle theta 1 at the inlet and theta 2 as the blade tip angle at the outlet. So this is the if this angle is measured by drawing a tangent. So this line is tangent at this point. So the angle which the tangent of the blade makes with the tangent of the circle on which this blade is attached. So this angle is the blade tip angle theta 1. The impeller is rotating in anti-clockwise direction. So since it's rotating in anti-clockwise direction, so if you to draw the velocity triangle, if you consider the velocity of the impeller, the angular velocity of the impeller, this will be from, since it's rotating in anti-clockwise direction, the angular velocity will be from right to left as shown here. So this is omega r1. Note that this radius is r1. The impeller is rotating with an angular velocity omega, so the angular velocity is omega r1. For an efficient operation of the centrifugal pump, the blades are designed in such a way that the relative velocity with which the fluid is entering the blade, note that the fluid enters radially into the fluid enters at this inner radius r1. So when the fluid is entering with a relative velocity vr1, the blade is designed in such a way that it enters tangentially to the blade. So the angle at which the relative velocity is at the inlet is theta 1. So to draw the velocity triangle, after omega r1, if you consider vr1 as the relative velocity, and as I had said, for an efficient operation, the angle of this relative velocity, it is entering tangent to the blade, so that there is no flow separation and there is an efficient operation, there is no energy loss. So the relative velocity is entering at an angle of theta 1. So considering this two velocity, note that for this problem, we want to obtain the absolute velocity because we are considering a stationary control volume. And as I mentioned earlier, that our main focus is to obtain the tangential component of the absolute velocity at the inlet and outlet of the blade. So in this case, when the fluid enters to the impeller, the absolute velocity with which the fluid enters is along the radius. So there is a radial entry. So the absolute velocity, so you can see that this is a radial direction. So the absolute velocity is entering radially. Absolute velocity has two components, radial component and tangential component. At the inlet, for all the blades, the absolute velocity has a radial inlet. So this is the absolute velocity which has only radial component. So this absolute velocity, whenever I will show with a superscript r denotes radially. So the absolute velocity only has a radial component, its tangential component. So this is the tangential component t corresponding to t. VA1 the convention which is followed here, if it is a superscript r, this is a radial absolute velocity radial component. This is the tangential component. So since we have only radial component, so the absolute velocity is equals to radial component and tangential component is 0 at the inlet. So this is the velocity triangle for the inlet. This is the inlet velocity triangle. Similarly, we will draw the outlet velocity triangle, and thereafter we will apply the angular momentum analysis, where we will consider this VA1T, which is a tangential velocity which contributes to the moment and will correlate with the torque which is acting on the shaft. So at the inlet, note that VA1T is 0. Similarly, we will draw the outlet velocity triangle and obtain VA2T. 1 we are considering for inlet and 2 we will consider for outlet. So this is the we'll draw the outlet velocity triangle. Similar as shown here, theta1, the blade tip angle, which is the angle of the tangent of the blade from the tangent of the circle on which it is attached. So this is the tangent of the circle corresponding to the blade, and this is the tangent to the blade. So the relative velocity with which the fluid is leaving is VR2, and here again the impeller is rotating in anti-clockwise direction. So you will have, since at anti-clockwise rotation, we'll have omega R1 from right to left as shown here. So this is VR2, this is omega R2. So other than these two velocities, this is the relative velocity. This is the velocity of the impeller, angular velocity of the impeller. So using these two velocities, we'll draw the velocity triangle and we'll obtain the absolute velocity of the jet water which is coming out from this impeller as VA2. Now this absolute velocity has two components, where while applying the angular momentum equation, our interest is on the tangential component. So I am showing you here this is the tangential component which is of major interest while applying the angular momentum analysis. Okay, as shown circled here, and this is the radial component of the absolute velocity at the outlet. 1 denotes inlet, 2 denotes outlet, and while drawing the velocity triangle, we are considering the relative velocity, which is, note that at the inlet as well as outlet, the relative velocity is inclined at the blade tip angle, which is the angle of the blade makes from the tangent on the circle in which it is attached. So when we apply the angular momentum equation corresponding to we are considering the xy axis, and we are considering the moment about the z axis. Sum of the external moment sigma mz is equals to the moment of tangential momentum flow rate. So note that while applying the angular momentum equation, in linear momentum equation we were considering linear momentum flow rate, and we were applying the linear momentum equation component by component, where to apply in the x direction we were using sigma fx, and we were considering momentum flow rate in the x direction, and while applying in the y direction we used to consider sigma fy, and we used to consider momentum flow rate in the y direction. Here while applying, instead of applying momentum flow rate, here we apply moment of tangential momentum flow rate. We always consider the product of mass flow rate with the tangential velocity, and since in this topic we consider the control volume as stationary, the tangential velocity that we consider is the absolute velocity. So we have the product of mass flow rate and the tangential component of the absolute velocities, which are shown here. At the inlet it is 0, so this term will later on I'll show you will become 0, and this V8, So these are the terms which are of major interest while applying the. So this the product of these two here. This is the tangential momentum flow rate at the outlet. This is the tangential momentum flow rate at the inlet. And when you multiply by, here we'll multiply by R1, here we'll multiply by R2 to take the moment of tangential momentum flow rate at the outlet, and this will give you the moment of tangential momentum flow rate at the inlet. We are considering moment about the z-axis. So the mz, this is the moment about z-axis, mz, and since it's causing rotation, this is equal to torque. There are three types of moment: mx, my, and mz. Mx, my leads to the bending moment, and this, since it's causing rotation, it leads to a torque. So we'll substitute this mz, the external moment, as torque, and at the outlet we have one outlet and one inlet. So we'll replace this O with 2. So this will be the R2. Mass flow rate is same at the inlet and outlet, M, and this, as I mentioned, at the outlet we consider the tangential component of the absolute velocity. So it is Va2t minus R1m Va1t. These are the tangential velocities. Finally, we obtain the power by multiplying the torque with the angular velocity. So you can take m common from both, and you get m omega r2 Va2t minus omega r1 Va1t. This is called as Euler turbine equation. Note that here this Va1t is equals to 0, whereas Va2t we have to obtain from the outlet velocity triangle. So let us focus our attention to this outlet velocity triangle, and we want to obtain Va2t. Now to obtain Va2t, we can consider this omega r2 minus this Vr2 cos theta 2. If you take the horizontal component of this, so omega r2 minus Vr2 cos theta 2 will give you Va2t, and that Va2t we will substitute here. So as mentioned, Va2, this is the tangential component of the absolute velocity, Va2t. This tangential component is equals to omega r2 minus Vr2 cos theta 2, as shown here. Although we have obtained Va2, but we want this expression for Va2, the tangential component of the absolute velocity, not in terms of the relative velocity, but we want it in terms of the absolute velocity in the radial direction, because we note that in this problem we can easily obtain the radial component of the absolute velocity. At the impeller inlet, the absolute velocity with which water is entering can be obtained. If you know the mass flow rate, then you can obtain the absolute radial component of the absolute, because at the inlet, basically if you consider the cross-sectional area, it will be 2 pi r1. Let us suppose t is the thickness of the blade, and let us suppose if you have 10 blades, so the circumference will be 2 pi r1 minus 10t. So this 2 pi r1 is the circumference of the circle, and if you subtract the solid area corresponding to the thickness of the blade, so let us suppose there are 10 blades, so the circumferential area from which the fluid is entering to the impeller will be 2 pi r1 minus 10t. So this will be the circumferential area, but this blade has certain height or thickness which is b1, so it will be 2 pi r1 minus 10t. This whole term you will multiply it by b1 at the inlet, but if we neglect the thickness, then it will be 2 pi r1 b1. So if you know the mass flow rate, you can obtain the radial component of the absolute velocity as m divided by density into this area which I mentioned. Similarly, we can also obtain the radial component of the absolute velocity at the outlet. So instead of expressing this tangential component of the absolute velocity at the outlet in terms of relative velocity at the outlet, we want to express in terms of the, instead of relative velocity, we want to express in terms of the radial component of the absolute velocity. So we want to correlate this radial velocity with this the radial component of absolute velocity. So this two can be correlated as VR2 sine theta 2 is equals to the VA2R. So which is shown here, this is VR2 sine theta 2 is equals to VA2. So this VR2, if you want to substitute from here to here, VR2 is equals to VA2 divided by sine theta 2. So if you substitute here cos theta 2 by sine theta 2, you will get cot theta 2. And this, as I mentioned, this the radial component of the absolute velocity is equal to the mass flow rate divided by rho into area. Area I had mentioned at the outlet, it is 2 pi r2 minus 10t if t is the thickness, but if you are neglecting the thickness, it is 2 pi r2 into the height of the blade at the outlet, which is b2. So this way you can calculate this the axial component. So if you substitute this VR2 is equals to this divided by sine theta, you will get this term multiplied by cot theta as shown here. So the tangential component of the absolute velocity is to omega r2 minus m cot theta divided by rho 2 pi r2 b2. So this is this tangential velocity will substitute here, and this is equal to 0. So if you do this, this is 0, and if you substitute here, finally you obtain the expression for power, shaft power for a centrifugal pump as shown here. After obtaining the power, shaft power, note that we had used one condition, that for efficient operation, at the inlet, I had said that the relative velocity with which water is entering the impeller is along this direction, tangent to the blade, so that there is no flow separation. So we had said that VR1, the inclination of the relative velocity should be equal to the blade tip angle, theta 1. So for an efficient operation, and as I mentioned, the absolute component, the radial component of the absolute velocity, we can calculate from the mass flow rates. So we will correlate this VA1 with omega R1 using this theta 1. So you can take tan theta 1. Tan theta 1 will be equal to VA1 divided by omega R1. So VA1 will be equal to omega R1 into tan theta 1. This, once we know this absolute component, we are interested in mass flow rate, and for which we will use the absolute velocity. Now this absolute velocity, it is since it's a radial entry at the inlet, and so we can write the mass flow rate is equals to rho into area into the axial velocity, which is along the radial direction. So this VA1 is equals to omega R1 tan theta 1. This is the density. Area at the inlet, as I had mentioned, it is 2 pi R1 into B1, where R1 is this radius and B1 is the height of the blade or the width of the blade, which is also shown here. So, if you are solving a problem where you are asked that for efficient operation, you will not be given the mass flow rate. Okay, so you will use this expression to calculate the mass flow rate first, and then, because if you will be given R1, B1, omega. Okay, so you will not be given, if you are not given the mass flow rate, and the question in the problem it is said that you have to the centrifugal pump is operating efficiently, then you use this expression first to calculate this mass flow rate, and then you will use this mass flow rate into this expression to finally to calculate the power. So you should not be confused that the data is insufficient. For an efficient operation, make sure to use this expression to calculate the mass flow rate. With this, I had come to the end of this video lecture. Thank you for your attention.